shit.
That is the most penis-shaped man a man has ever been penis-shaped.
That is a penis-shaped man.
And why are we talking about penises?
Because we watched a movie about vaginas.
So
I really hope you were setting me up for that one.
I kind of was.
Okay.
Kind of. I kind of was like, oh, this could be fun. And I hit record as that was happening.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Not just penises and vaginas.
We are talking about not Alien Remus, but Alien Romulus.
Alien Romulus, which is the newest movie in the Alien franchise. Technically speaking, I think it's the 9th movie in the proper Alien franchise.
Is it technically because this doesn't count AVP?
It's because it does count technically AVP.
Very good. I liked AVP.
Listen, I kind of went through what my potential ranking for this franchise would be.
Yeah.
And man, AVP and even AVPR, I think are a lot of fun. They're not good by any stretch.
So in AVP, the Predators are the good guys.
Yes.
And in AVP are the aliens the good guys?
No, the aliens are still a fucking menace.
Oh, wow.
But it's like a Predator comes down to like basically clean up the shit from AVP.
Gotcha.
And like in Alien versus Predator, like you do have the humans teaming up essentially, or well, like the chick teams up with the Predator.
Yeah.
But in Requiem, it really is just like every man for himself, and that Predator is wrecking everybody.
As a side note, I feel like using Requiem
it's stupid
as a word in a title is like cheating and stupid. Because like it's a word that sounds cool, but like fucking nobody knows what it means.
No.
And I'm half convinced the people who use it don't know what it means.
No.
I don't even fully know what it means. But I don't think it belongs in an Alien versus Predator title.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that movie is, I think people would actually like it more if you could see what the fuck is going on.
Oh no!
I don't know. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. But it's a Game of Thrones season 3 thing. I've seen
season 7. You mean
season 8, episode 3? Yes.
Yeah, it literally is a movie that is too dark to see what the fuck is going on. Requiem.
Because I felt like, I mean, I haven't seen AVP 1 since probably middle school, but like
shit's from 2004, I think.
I liked it. I don't remember how dark or not dark it was.
No, that movie was pretty well lit.
Yeah,
it's honestly shot pretty okay, so it's fun. But no, we're not here talking about either of those two movies.
I would love to one day, actually.
we're talking about Alien Romulus. Man, I really like this movie.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Call it recency bias, but this movie is high up on my list for this year.
It was a fine ass time.
It's a fucking dope.
Yeah.
Like, the way I like to think about it is, it's one of those things where, like, yes, it does the same thing that a lot of Alien movies do.
Yeah.
Which, like, you have to set, like, the stage because you have to follow the life cycle of the Xenomorph. Like, you always have to have, like, the humans, the face hugger, the Xenomorph.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't just be like, human Xenomorph. Because
Right.
you gotta, pay your dues.
The whole thing. Yep.
You gotta do the whole thing. And I think people kind of shit on this movie because they're like, oh, the beginning is so slow, it's all set up.
I didn't think so.
I think it works well.
Yeah.
And like, all right, I know some of the characters in this suck, but
really?
It's on purpose.
Oh.
Like, they are shit people. Like, they are annoying on purpose because they are written that way. Because you want you always want someone to get got.
Someone's got to get got.
And like, sometimes you want them, you want to feel good about them getting got. Sometimes you want to feel bad about them getting got.
I think they hit a pretty good balance. I mean, we can get into that in more detail, but like,
yeah,
I think they hit a good balance with like the fodder characters
for sure. And yeah. I do think the main setup here, like them going into the station because they're essentially kind of getting tired of getting screwed over by the whaling company.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a really good setup because we haven't gotten that as far as the mainline story goes. Yeah.
So, it's interesting because I have never actually seen a full-on alien movie.
which is shocking to
It
me.
is shocking. I saw Predator. Somehow I missed on the Alien franchise.
So have you seen all the Predator movies?
No, I've seen it just a handful.
Okay.
But I mean, I feel like it could like both. I feel like are franchises that they're kind of like slasher movies where you can lose your luster with those like mighty quick, or they could get too repetitive. Like they could get too repetitive way too fast.
Yeah.
So you gotta like, I feel like you gotta make the character stuff count and good.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since, like you said, like if it's an alien movie, you gotta have that. You gotta have that life cycle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
right?
well, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. Like it's not just the xenomorph that's iconic. Like the facehugger itself is iconic,
Very iconic,
right?
yeah.
Having an android is an iconic. It's like a tradition of the franchise, right?
Which I didn't know. Yeah, which I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like when they introduced the character of Andy,
Yes,
for
I
you,
did. I did
like,
not know that was a machine.
you were like, oh, what the fuck is going on with this guy who may or may not be on the spectrum?
I won't say what I said in the theater, but yeah, I was like, oh, why is this guy so awkward? And then you find out that he's a robot.
Yeah, and not just like, so like you always have your androids, and they always do have like some sort of quirkiness about them.
Yeah.
There's something weird, something a little off-putting about them. In this case, it is like he is a malfunctioning robot.
Yeah.
Like they basically found him in the trash.
Yeah.
And Rain's dad's like, hey, you're gonna be her brother.
And she's gotta like administer his like EpiPen to him every every so
yeah,
often.
like you just gotta basically hit reset on them and reboot them. I do like basically every main cast here.
Yeah.
Sure, some of them are a lot more developed than others, but I do feel like they do what they're here to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to put in tons of character background work into a character that's essentially going to be the first to get got.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So like whatever.
Exactly.
I think as far as like the atmosphere of the movie goes, it does a really good balance for me as to like how you balance the spooky atmosphere that you want.
Yeah.
But then also as the years have progressed, like the franchise has leaned heavily into action. I mean, that was immediate. Like going from Alien to Aliens, it is like you're watching a horror movie to you're watching a full-on action movie.
Yeah.
So like people are used to basically both, and I think this movie kind of marries that dynamic very well. Like the first half of this is very tense, very spooky.
Right.
And then like as soon as the action starts, like it just fucking goes.
So would you say this movie like kind of gets back to the roots?
Oh yeah, 1000%.
Because I even having not seen the first one, like there were still like very famous stills and shots that I picked up on. Like, like this is like the woman looking at the thing's face, like right into it. I've seen that shot with Sigourney Weaver. Right. So I got that was an intentional strategy by this movie, and I mean it's coming off like. It's coming a couple of years off Top Gun Maverick and other reboot movies that are that are very much paying homage to their originals. But I think it did it with success.
And I do agree. Like I know that there's always this huge push for like, no, we need new IP.
I think it depends on the IP.
Leave this shit, and I'm like, I think not even just depending on the IP, because I think that's kind of been proven. That you can do this with anything as long as you have a team behind it that cares.
I see. Okay. I mistook you. Correct. So when you said I need new IP, I thought you meant like new iterations of the story. And that's what I mean, like it depends. Like I think with Star Wars, like it can't just be The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Like every time. But I think depending on the IP, I think that's where you can lean into the old or lean into or like break ground with the new.
Yeah, and I think the big kind of point for that is like think about like Halloween, right? Like there's been a guy that I like on YouTube. He calls it like the subway map of Halloween because like it's really all stemming from that first movie, and then you have I think 3 or 4 different branches depending on how you want to follow it.
Right.
And then you have like a whole other line down here for Rob Zombie, right?
Yeah.
But there's also like a lot of, but in that series, like 2018 comes out, it's still following the continuity from the first one,
But ignoring
everything else, and it still really works. Sure, it goes off the rails with Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends,
right.
but
that
like
one by itself,
that 2018 movie, I still genuinely love.
Hold water.
I love the thing I love about that is like I could watch that and end the movie pretending that Michael just fucking died in that fire.
Yeah.
And that I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think that doing that with this movie, for example, where it's still in the continuity, but now you have someone new coming in, someone who cares, who's going at this not just as a fan of the series, but as a competent filmmaker.
Right.
And it's just like seriously just breathing new life into this.
Yeah.
Because everything that we've had before for Alien has just been like, okay.
Yes.
At best.
Or Prometheus.
I mean...
Which I enjoyed. Spoilers. I enjoyed the use of Prometheus in this movie.
Yeah, so like, all right, I did go back. I didn't rewatch the movies, but I went back and I basically like saw the story of Prometheus, the story of Covenant.
Yeah.
Like basically going beat by beat, the fun kills and stuff. And there is something interesting about the movies. They are shot very well.
Yep.
They are competently... I don't want to say competently made. Fine, they're competently shot for sure, but the story is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Right? The characters are supposed to be like super smart scientists who are tasked with like colonizing places and searching for new life, but they make these stupidest fucking decisions, which does not make sense.
Right.
This movie just kind of strips all that away and just gives you people.
Yeah.
And I think
with
that's...
a simple objective.
Yeah, like we just want to get the fuck out of town.
Yep.
And I think that for me just makes it work so well. Yeah. It lets you connect with them. They're relatable. Like these are just fucking like mine workers.
Yeah.
Right? Like blue collar. They're like we said earlier, like they're just sick and tired of being fucked over by the company.
Yeah.
Which I love that this movie still keeps that theme of like anti like corporations. Because like in every movie, it really is like the company just fucking sucks.
Yes.
I think
this one threads that theme very well because it merges the theme of the company fucking sucks with the theme of like, oh, the finding the perfect specimen can be problematic.
Yeah.
But yes, you were gonna say something.
Oh, I saw a Letterboxd review that was just like, I'm starting to believe that the company does not have the best interest in humanity.
Tracks.
Tracks. All right. So as far as like what the movie is, just to wrap up like my non-spoiler shit, like I really dug this. I think it goes weird where it needs to.
Yep.
But I think it also embraces like what the franchise is on its own.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of questions for you about the callbacks and like the Easter eggs as someone who does not have
who's not familiar with
any of the familiarity with the franchise.
Yeah, great use of the body horror, good mix of the genres of like action and horror. I think when I saw that there was like that fourth act that there at the end, initially I was like, oh no, like what else? But I think what it does with it makes the fourth act worth it. Great job throughout this movie of turning up tension. Mm-hmm. So wonderful time.
Very good.
Would recommend.
So let's get into our things. And funny you mentioned the fourth act because I was like, what is Sana going to think about this? Because you haven't seen Alien or Aliens.
No, I've seen Prometheus.
It still also does have its own like version of a 4-act.
And I can't remember. I mean, I saw it when it came out.
They basically go back to the ship only to find out that the thing that they ripped out of Shaw has grown into like a giant squid monster.
Yeah.
And then it just basically takes over the engineer, and that's the fourth act. It's very like a very loose interpretation of what a fourth act would be.
Right.
But traditionally speaking, Alien 1 and Aliens both have a fourth
Fourth
act.
act.
In the first movie, Ripley escapes, and surprise, surprise, the Xenomorph got into her shuttle.
Mm.
And then in Aliens, they escape, and surprise, surprise, the Xenomorph queen gets into the shuttle.
Nice.
So this kind of tracks.
Yeah.
Like, they escape, surprise, surprise.
There's a problem.
There's a problem.
Yep.
It's not the Xenomorph. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I really do like the dynamic of the characters, like from the very beginning, having not only like a very young cast.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we have a young cast almost adds to like the desperation and just the stakes of like their situation, where it's like these are all
They've got hope.
relatively young people,
Yeah.
in their 20s, whose parents are all just dead because of working in these mines.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know what happened to Rain's mom. We just know that both her parents died at some point. We know that Bjorn and I think Navarro are siblings too. There's something that happens that I'm like, they give each other like a look, like
I think they are siblings.
So yeah, I know that like their mom died recently.
Yeah.
So like it's all these people who are essentially orphaned.
Orphaned, but also have like a whole potential in front of them because they're so young, right?
Well, they do and they don't, right? So like they have potential
if they get to the Great Valley.
if they can get to where they want to, but the potential is being stripped away by the company, right?
Exactly.
Like the company just upping their quotas,
Yeah.
which is such a capitalist bullshit thing where you're oh, you wanted your 12,000 hours? Just kidding. Now it's 24,000.
That was some
That-
ridic.
So
That was some ridic.
that is some goalpost moving.
Look, I get capitalism's unfair, but the fact that like we got rid of grandfather clauses in the future, terrible.
For sure.
Terrible.
For sure. And then I think that just like really does set up this drive for them to not only want to escape, but then to be like, you know what, if we can do it at the expense of the company, even better.
Yeah.
Right? Because like Rain kind of protests at first when they're like, there's these cryopods in this Weyland-Yutani company ship. She's like, I don't know, we want to fuck with that. And they're like, why not?
Right, exactly.
They fucked us this time. I love the setup. I thought it was kind of funny that at first they were like, oh, it's 36 hours until this thing crashes.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's plenty of time. I was like, something's got to happen.
Exactly.
Which is great. I do wonder if there's anything with the sibling dynamic. Because like I said, I did note that like the three pairs here are all siblings, right?
So Archie or Tyler and Kay, right?
Yeah, Tyler and Kay.
Bjorn and Navarro.
And then
Rain and Andy. Yeah, that's a good question.
Right? I don't know. But I mean, for sure, Kay and Tyler.
Well, it definitely adds tension because there's sexual tension between Tyler and Rain.
Yeah.
Right? There's sexual tension between Kay and Bjorn.
A little bit, yeah.
Right. And then there's brotherly, sisterly tension between Bjorn and Navarro. So, I mean, I can't speak of like a thematic like reason for it right now, but like I think just having that tension in there makes the characters A, more interesting because you've got this web of relationships, but then B, also adds to the anxiety level because you know that if like someone gets got, even if they're a piece of shit, aka Bjorn, then that's gonna that's gonna hurt multiple people in multiple different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think it really does then make sense too at the end why like Rain goes back for Andy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that idea of like, well, he's my family, even though like the original plan is like they're gonna go to Ivaga,
Right.
and then they're gonna leave him behind, right?
Yeah.
And she does say like, I don't have the heart to tell him, when logic dictates that because he's an android and because his prime directive is to do what's best for her, it should be okay for him to be like, you know, bye.
She and Andy become fully human in a world that seeks to discard humanity.
Oh,
Put that in a paragraph.
I love the introduction of like the zero gravity from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Because
the contraptions and rules of the Funhouse are set up
And I
nicely
think
for
that's
you.
why this movie really works for me, because there's something about the confined space of it's a huge ship, so you shouldn't feel confined.
Is the gravity thing new to this franchise?
There's never been anything fuck you with gravity, so
Yeah.
that's always, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Prometheus and Covenant both do take place in like ships for a good chunk of it, but you also have like, you're walking through like alien forests, or you're walking through like an alien city essentially that's been like genocided by an android.
Yeah.
So like it does lose a lot of that like claustrophobia that you get from the first movie,
Yeah.
and even to a certain extent in the second. Um, but I think this movie gives you that you're in a big space because it's a giant space station,
Right.
but you still feel so enclosed, like anything could be in just like the next room, which I think is really good for setting up like these threats that kind of have lost their fright factor.
Yeah, and in fact, I almost think the movie almost does it too well. Because if I'm gonna pick my one gripe with this movie, I think when all the set pieces, when all their building, it culminates at its end, and you get your final action scenes, like with the gravity and with the acid, and then with timing and like the xenomorph. I think there's like there's multiple points where I see our characters, and I'm like, all right, like you should have gotten got right now.
Should have gotten got.
Yeah, and I know like that's a fault of many action movies, but I feel like that when you compare with the timing, which builds tension so well, you're like, all right, like the mission should have been failed by now, realistically. But like you have so much fun with the building of the tension that it's not really that much of a problem. But yes, I think it heightens the danger so well.
Yeah.
That,
Well, one of the things to consider, and I don't know if this is like going to necessarily kind of rebut your gripe necessarily. So one of the things is like why they don't get got is because the xenomorphs don't. Their instinct is not to kill you.
has that always been the case?
That's always been the case.
Ah,
Their main instinct is essentially to spread.
gotcha.
So what they do is they kind of kidnap you, like they do to Kay, and they stick you on the wall with like the goopy stuff,
Yeah.
and then they impregnate you, and then you die
die.
because you are breathing
You're breeding
new.
xenomorph. Yeah.
So like they very rarely, like their first instinct is to just flat out kill you.
Gotcha.
I know like in the first movie, you don't really see them do this, but in the original director's cut, they do show like the crew like on walls, like basically getting ready to get bread, right? Which, by the way, this movie I think does bring back a lot of that theme of essentially like rape and sexual assault.
Yeah.
I think it's very clear in that first scene where the facehuggers come out from like the cryo chambers, right?
Yeah.
Like that little spider thingy trying to stick things in the dude's mouth, and he's like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this movie is.
If it wasn't so forceful, some people would call it horny. But
I mean, have you seen some of the reviews online? People be horny.
People do be calling this horny.
And people be calling this horny, and people be thirsting over them Xenomorphs.
Oof, no,
and they're like, look at that head.
No.
Look like a peener.
No.
And I'm like, no gracias.
No, thank you for me.
No, thank you for me, indeed. I one of the things that I love about this movie is the facehuggers have always been like scary and threatening. I mean, they are like ugly little spider things. Yeah. So that immediately,
alacranes.
Yeah, that thing immediately like ups the gross spooky factor.
Yeah.
But I think this is the first time where I watched this movie since maybe Aliens, where I really do feel like the facehuggers are almost as much of a threat as the xenomorph.
Because this movie does a good job of delaying the appearance of the xenomorph.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, all the movies do.
Yes.
I think the first movie takes about 55 minutes before you see the first xenomorph.
Yeah.
And I think Aliens is almost like an hour and 5 minutes.
Oh wow.
So like they do take their time because the big tension is like we said, they go through the process of like showing you the life cycle
Yeah.
of getting someone chest bursted, right?
Yeah.
I'm honestly a little surprised that this movie, I don't want to say it's tame, but compared to like what Fede Alvarez has done, especially with like Evil Dead, which is a historically like violent and gory franchise, I don't think this movie goes too hard. I was expecting it to go a lot harder, honestly.
So, as a clear non-expert of both, having just seen the last Evil Dead movie and then having just seen like this Alien movie, I feel like Alien is more normie than Evil Dead.
Oh, for sure.
So like I don't like using the most recent Evil Dead movie as my reference point. Like I don't think Alien could ever go that level. But I don't. I liked the gore and the body horror. I think.
So my main reason for saying that is there, for as many flaws as like Covenant has,
Yeah.
there are some gnarly fucking kills in Covenant,
Yeah.
and there's some like things that they show you that you're like, damn, like this goes kind of hard.
Yeah. There's no like Thanksgiving style kill
in
right,
this.
In this, but I also didn't feel like I need.
No, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't think it needed it. I'm not saying it's lesser for it. I'm just kind of genuinely surprised at like his restraint, and then B, like how well it works, because I think the tension is really what helps this movie.
Yeah.
I feel like if he had just gone gore for the purpose of like shock value, it could work, but I feel like that would take away from some of the tension, because you run into the problem of like it being too cartoonishly violent.
Right.
I do like that they do save like that shock and gore for like very specific
moments.
Like moments.
Yeah.
I do think that first chest burst scene with Navarro is really cool. It's really well made.
Yeah.
I think Isabella Merced does a really good job at like just looking fucking miserable when that thing is coming out, like out of her friend, because she has no fucking clue what's going on.
Happened. Yeah.
I think that's the funniest thing about her. That like in Alien, when the first chest burster pops out, like you already had the fear of something is happening to John Hurt here, right? William Hurt, one of the Hurts.
William Hung.
What?
He's the she-bang guy from American Idol.
Well, anyway, like the crew knows that he has been like face tugged. Yeah. They don't know what it does. They don't know what the fuck this thing means. But like when something goes wrong, like you have the mental like trail of, oh, this has to do with that.
Right.
As far as she's concerned,
she missed all.
She's that. Like, holy shit!
What happened?
What happened?
Because Andy's like, nope, we gotta leave him on the thing. And like Bjorn obviously is prejudiced against Andy. And like Navarro, from what I understood, because she was incapacitated, she's like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but for whatever reason, they want to leave me on this space station.
Yeah, someone wants to get me.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that whole setup is just makes perfect sense on how like the characters are acting.
Yeah.
It leads to like a pretty gnarly shot of like the ship. I love the visual of the ship going around the outside of the Romulus space station, and you see the lights in the hallway. I don't know, man. This movie to me might be the best looking Alien movie.
It looks great.
It looks fantastic. This is where they wake up. This thing is gone, and it's just like a coochie on the wall, which I don't think we've ever seen this. So, I'm 90% sure this is the first time we've seen
the coochie on the wall.
Well, not just the coochie on the wall, but this is the first time we've actually seen what happens when like the chest burster comes out. Because we know that they do like shed their skin, but then in like the first Alien movie, they find what looks like beef jerky.
Yeah.
And then bing bang boom, you have a giant xenomorph.
I see.
But this is the first time where they have them like they cocoon and they grow in this cocoon.
Yeah.
So that I thought was kind of really cool.
So were these movies always vagina-y?
I mean, if you look at the Xenomorph, like that head is straight up a dick.
Yeah.
The face huggers always look like vaginas.
Yeah.
And I mean that's the whole thing. Like I think the first movie is definitely like an allegory for like, especially for like rape of men, because like, you know, the first guy to get killed is a dude who was forcibly impregnated. Right. So like that theme kind of writes itself there.
Yeah.
But no, this movie definitely I feel like ups the phallic and whatever the women version of phallic is.
I used to know, but I know
something with a Y, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, after this happens, like it's just all balls to the wall. We get a really good look at the alien, who I think in this movie looks fantastic. They look scary. He's got that weird like scar on its head, like it got burned from the guy. And it also shows, like, even if you don't know a lot about like the alien mythology, like they are like stalkers. Like they do stalk. They're relatively smart, and I think this movie kind of shows a bit of
That's
that.
the thing. I never felt lost in this movie. Which, I mean, I know Alien is enough in like it's enough in the cultural conversation where like maybe you shouldn't get lost. But I think this movie did a really good enough job where there was never a single point where I was confused.
Yeah, I think this it also it doesn't feel handholdy.
Yeah.
But it also uses its runtime and its exposition in a way that you don't feel like you're being like fed information.
Because even if you don't know about Prometheus, like there's enough talk about, you know, humanity keeps dying from all this shit. We got to build we got to build a perfect specimen.
We basically got to build better workers, essentially.
Yeah, where I could see like, when the alien gets into a pregnant person, right, a humanoid thing would emerge. Like the logic within this movie tracks as to why everything happens.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of like kind of the exposition dumps that are not really exposition dumps, right? But in this movie they use an android.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the android is Bishop,
and he's in the first one.
No.
Oh.
So yes, but no.
Gotcha.
So the actor is an old actor named like Ian Holm.
Yeah.
He played Ash, who was his reveal of him being an android was like a big surprise.
I see.
Like he's just a dude who happens to be like this the science officer of the ship.
For the ship. Yeah.
You later find out that like he has a mission to essentially bring back the alien specimen.
Mm-hmm.
Crew be damned.
Right.
And like it's a big point of contention.
Primary directive, do what's best for the company.
Basically.
Yeah. And
so then that does lead to a conversation that a lot of people have, whether how much does the company know about the aliens?
Mm.
And I think there's enough evidence to show that they kind of know everything.
Yeah.
And they are purposefully almost sending crews to where they know like the alien is and breed it and like study it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. But anyway, so that's Ash in the first movie. And every movie has an android. You have Ash, Bishop, Cal, and then you have David.
Mm.
So then the fact that he's back in this really like upsets a lot of people because they're like, well, you have a dead guy, so you have a Grand Moff Tarkin situation in this. Yeah, the CG doesn't look great in the face. I think once it switches from seeing like the half body sitting on the TV or on like the computer, to like being on the screen, I think it looks a lot better.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is something that I would allow myself to ruin the movie for me.
So that's the only reason they hate it, though, is because
there's some people who are like, this ruins the movie. Oh. And I'm like, I'm sorry. You are throwing out the baby with the bathwater here.
And if anything, if I didn't really notice awkward CGI, but if I registered any of that, I just assumed it was because, like, he's a mutilated robot. So obviously he's going to be a little.
Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of people just know what Ash looks like.
Yeah.
And they just immediately, like, it hits that uncanny valley. So you have no reference for what this guy looks like.
Right.
So for you, they're really, like, the uncanny valley is not quite there.
Right.
Right? Same with the callback line, "Get away from her, you bitch." Like, that's from Aliens. Mm-hmm. And man, dude, people are up in arms.
Because they use that
line. They're like, but how would he know to use that line? Because Aliens hasn't happened. I'm like, he's not referencing the fucking movie.
Like the director's referencing the movie.
Like, like the character isn't.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know how people get upset in Star Wars properties when they say, I got a bad feeling about this?
Yeah.
And in that, you're kind of like, yeah, I guess they do overuse that.
But then it became so overused that it just became like an expected thing.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But this is not that.
I agree.
I
don't think it's at that level.
I was having a passing conversation with someone in the group chat that I'm in about how I think not only is the internet a mistake, fucking fandoms really do.
Fandoms gotta go. Bring back
fandoms gotta go.
Give the jocks their power back. Is what I say.
We talked about the tie-in to Prometheus here, where like they're looking for this goo, right?
This goo. I like that.
It's a goo, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's a goo.
I just like the word goo.
It do be a fun word. So fucking Andy's been tasked with like, you gotta collect this thing, and they run into like their trolley problem,
right?
Where he's like, I can't let her in. If I let her in, this thing is going to come in and fucking kill us.
Yeah.
And this is where I understand Tyler being upset, but I do feel like Rain shouldn't have been as angry at Andy about this, because she fucking smacks him. Because she's like, why didn't you let her in? And he's like, it's fucking right there.
Well,
you can see him through the window.
She's also dealing with the fact that like her brother's personality has just done a complete
for sure
180.
But man, could you imagine if Andy was same old like silly goofy Andy? He would have let the man movie over.
Well, I guess you're not wrong, but I think that's where actually the 36-hour thing I think helps with this, because like when they like there's a bit trepidation like before they find this mystery ship, because first they don't realize it's a shuttle.
At first they think it's just like a ship, right? Yeah. And then they get there and it's a massive space
but they're
station.
Like, oh, we got our cryo chambers, we got our fuel, like we're gonna be G2G. Like they really have every reason to believe that this is like, once they find the cryo stuff, like they have every reason to believe that this is gonna go swimmingly, and like their hope has arrived. So when trouble is afoot, and then not only trouble is afoot, but now Andy has completely changed. It's not like logically, yes, like what Andy is doing is right, but like from the human emotion aspect, like,
I get it.
All so much that
I don't know. I get it. I just feel like of all the characters, the one who is most level-headed throughout most of it is Rain. Right. I feel like she could still be upset. She could be like, damn. But
that's why Rain survives, because Rain is really the peak human. Rain is
Rain is the peak human.
Rain is able to use both emotion and logic.
Colin was like, Rain is really cool, she's great, and then he sees that last scene where she's in her undies and he's like, peak human.
Peak human.
Peak
I
human.
didn't even get there yet, but yeah, peak human.
I'm curious if there is a way to like dissect a movie like this where you're like, how could they do everything they need to do in this exact scenario and not get fucked?
That's what I was saying. Like
I'm like, process of like following this flow chart.
It is Doctor Strange's like, how many universes do we win? One. Right. It is this, but even somehow less believable.
I'm very curious as to like what you could possibly do in this movie where everybody just makes it
Oh,
okay.
Everybody makes it okay.
I'm just like, cause like, okay, so it reminds me of like, do you remember when we played that game when you're in the old like giant sea ship like oil rig, and essentially like you play as the characters in the movie, quote unquote, and you have to make decisions.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Remember that we played
Yeah.
it with like Isabella Clarke during
COVID.
COVID. I'm curious what a game like that would be in the Alien universe.
So,
like, what choices can you make to make it so that everybody lives?
If Bjorn was not a dick,
yeah,
I think that
would help.
I think that would help the most out of everything. I think because like I think the key to success is getting in and out as fast as possible with your fuel and your cryo chambers.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Rain goes in with them from the very beginning. Because she has access. Because she's the one who immediately says, "There's a burnt droid here. We need to get that clearance from him to Andy." But then that still runs you into the problem of, well, now the primary directive
is do what's best
for the company.
Right.
Is that going to be enough for him to be like, all right, let's get the fuck out, or is he going to want to stick around?
Yeah,
I'm very curious as to what that flow chart would look like. For making it. The pro Prometheus thing with this movie is kind of amazing, because if they had just stayed watching that screen for like a second longer,
right,
I think they would have been like, there's absolutely no fucking way we're injecting anyone with this.
Yeah.
Because they leave, and immediately that rat explodes.
Well, so it's what's her name who injects herself?
Right? Yeah, she injects herself.
But is she ever privy to
the
screen?
But they watch the thing.
Yeah.
This is after she's already been kidnapped by the Xenomorph.
Right.
They watch this thing. The rat gets smushed. They inject it. The rat magically heals itself. And then they go, well, looks good. Let's go. And then the camera pans to like a giant mass of Lord knows what.
Right.
And then you see the camera again, and then the rat explodes.
Now, did the rat get injected right there in real time, or was that like...
No.
Was that montage? Okay, and I think that's where... Because, like, I feel like this rat should have died sooner. Like, that's where the timing is, like, plot convenience.
What do you mean by died sooner?
So the rat's been injected for how long? Like probably.
I mean, that rat's dead.
So did we see the explosion in real time, or did we see?
So all we see is the rat like breaking open and like starting to expand, and then like it's what we saw next to the screen.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
Which again, it's just like, how do you miss that?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I understand also why they have to like kind of have them not see this.
Right.
But again, it leads to that flow chart that I'm talking about. Like, hey, maybe don't inject yourself with this, and then you can just get into your cryo chamber, no problem.
Well, that's the thing, because like, what's her name gets necked, right? By the like, doesn't the Xenomorph get her in the neck?
Stabs her in the shoulder, basically, like picks her up with a tail.
Okay, but still, like enough force.
She is losing blood.
Where she's like pregnant, and I'm like, oh, this bitch should be dead. I could see, even if it did explode, I could see like under the direst of circumstances where they're like, well, it's probably not gonna end well, but this is literally like our only hope.
Yeah. They do kind of play that. She's by herself. Yeah. Right, because at this point
she's already gotten yeeted off the top of something, right?
So I went to see this movie on Thursday when they came out with my friend Nick, and he turns to me and he goes, "Well, she was pregnant like 3 times."
Yeah,
dude, there's so many times where I'm like, "There's no way this woman is still pregnant."
Yeah, I know.
Holy shit!
I know.
That first tumble she takes.
Yeah, like there goes the baby. I mean, we joke like down the stairs, but like I mean that
dude, she fell like 20 feet.
That was the equivalent of down the stairs.
She got yeeted.
Yeah.
But I love the way they do that zero gravity stuff in this, because we've never seen it.
Right.
It is a very smart way to handle like not just the threat of the actual xenomorph itself, but like their defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Like having acid for blood is already
Cool.
it's already
And
cool.
OP. Yeah.
Having that acid just melt through your ship and it just cause.
Was that also a problem in previous Alien movies where the acid could melt through the space?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a big point in the first movie where like they cut open the face hugger a bit and that starts to like melt through like 4 different like levels of the ship.
Yeah.
And they go, fuck, like we cannot have this thing basically do this.
Yeah.
I think in Alien Resurrection, Ripley uses her blood, which has been mixed with xenomorph DNA, to like burn a hole in the side of a ship and then just basically kill xenomorph.
Nice.
The movies get fucking stupid, dude.
Bonkers. How many is Sigourney Weaver in?
She's in 4 of them.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, she's in Alien, Aliens 3, and Resurrection.
Which do you... I wonder now with like franchises like that are kind of on this level or like aspire to be on this level. I wonder how often you see like your main actor or actress like sticking around for all the, for all the inferior sequels.
They have said that apparently she did not want to come back for 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And she jokes, but I honestly would not doubt that someone would be this performative. She was like, they basically like backed a giant truck full of cash into my driveway.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And get that bread, girl.
Absolutely.
This I really like the elevator shaft scene where like the elevator's not working because there's no gravity.
Yeah.
We've had the concept that like the gravity generators, even if it's off, it needs to reset so that like the ship basically keeps its like trajectory. It doesn't like spin out. So that like that shit's gonna come down.
Yeah.
And once it does, it ain't no one having a good fucking time.
It's gonna be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
For sure.
Right.
And I love the fact that just has to happen when they're in the elevator shaft.
For sure. And I think the shot of the crash and the approaching ring is gorgeous.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It looks scary.
Yeah.
To have. It's also funny that like I never considered just how like that really is a solid thing.
Right.
Like,
rings are they're baffling. Like what we see as Saturn in the pictures, and then like probably seeing Saturn from right there would be
fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's so cool though. It's just basically like a gravel road up to your face.
Yeah.
And this thing is just crashing straight into it. I love the scene of her falling, for starters, which is fucking like, it's got to be scary as shit. To just be like, well, here I go. And then just having that alien just catch her midair and just stare at her.
It saved the day.
It saved the day. And people are like, why did it catch it? And we're like, well, it's because they don't want to kill.
He wants the babies.
And you do see the face hugger coming at her, which not David. I keep wanting to call him David. Which is Michael Fassbender's character.
Yes.
But Andy saves her, and they get back on the ship.
Yeah.
Which is where we get
Act 4.
Act 4, man.
Right.
I don't know what I was expecting the first time I watched this, but I think when I saw that she injected herself, I was like, "Oh no,
there's a problem." If it was just another xenomorph in there, then I think that would have taken this movie down a couple notches.
You cannot do another xenomorph.
Because I'd have been like, all right, let's get the show on the road. Right. I'm so glad that it was something else, something more sinister, something more scary, honestly.
So this movie, one of the like common critiques is the retreading, which again, I understand, but I think there's a difference between fan service and like fan service done well.
But all these well-renowned reboot movies do a retread.
They do. And this is a retread, quote unquote, of Aliens Resurrection.
Yeah.
Which is where they find out that apparently Ripley had kind of like a baby, more or less. It's like they used her to like basically make a xenomorph human hybrid, and it looks really, really goofy.
Yeah.
Like it's got like human eyes, it's got like a skull face, but it's got the shape of like the xenomorph.
Oh.
It's like pinkish,
Yeah.
and kind of gross. And honestly, it just looks more sad than anything.
Mm.
And like she does kind of want to like protect it, but he's also kind of killing people, so that she like ends up kind of killing him.
Right.
So it does not stand up as far as like it being a scary fourth act type of thing. I think this movie takes that idea of like a human xenomorph hybrid
Yeah.
and takes it into like, this is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
It's long, gangly,
Spindly.
spindly.
Yep.
It's basically like if you took a xenomorph, give it a normal human head, and then cover that shit in skin.
Yeah.
And it is disgusting. And I'm sorry to say, dude, that man, Robert Bobrovsky,
Bobrovsky.
he's a basketball player, I guess.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. Ugly.
Very ugly.
Ugly man.
Very ugly.
That jump scare, apparently, people were not having a good time with that scare.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. Katie was not prepared. I completely forgot to warn her. I usually warn her about jump scares. I completely forgot. And I could just feel her like just fucking jump. She goes, "God damn it, Javi." Road jumped.
Yeah.
Big time with that.
Yeah.
It is
nice.
very
It's nice
effective.
watching the scaries with your wife.
Yeah.
When she's scared, you feel like a man.
You feel
protecting the tribe.
You gotta protect the woman from the scaries.
Exactly.
I know it's like, I know it's a tradition. I know that it's always, you gotta shoot this thing at the airlock.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta ship him into space. But man, it does feel good to see that thing just crash into those rings.
Out. Yes.
Out. I had a grand old time with this. I would love more. I don't know that. Man, I don't know. I don't want Sigourney back.
No need.
I would not mind if they find a way to continue with Rain and Andy. Because man, they're
I think
like,
I think there's room for these characters.
They're endearing, like their relationship between them, like it's very. It really does feel like a sibling relationship where you have someone taking care of like a sibling who does have something that requires them to have more attention.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's done very well. Like, and like you said, when he's kind of that menacing, kind of pseudo villain, but not really.
Yes.
Like he's a villain in the sense that like now he's working for the man.
It adds a lot of layers to the role.
It does. He's fucking fantastic.
It makes the performance really impressive.
I love that switch in him.
Yeah.
He does such a good job.
Because he has to be elite level twitchy and then elite level competent.
Yeah, David Johnson. Huge shout out to David Johnson, man. He kills it as Andy the. I love that it's Andy the android.
Yeah, of course.
It's so silly. I love it. They've already said that apparently the director and the writer have already kind of noodled around some ideas for a sequel. But Fede Alvarez has said that he really wants to make an Alien versus Predator movie with the guy who did Prey.
I support it.
And man, I would love nothing more.
So if you could keep just one movie, Prey or Romulus, which one are you keeping?
Oh, I don't know.
I have to pick Prey.
I might have to pick this.
And I think in general, I just have a softer spot in my heart for the Predator. But I love both, but I love Prey.
I love both movies. Yeah. I think I love this just a smidge more. I think it's because this is scarier.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is scarier.
I think this is, as far as like the spooks, as far as like the violence and like the just how menacing the actual villain is.
Yeah,
I think this has got it beat.
It's a scary.
It wouldn't make sense, but I would love to see a way for Rain and Why am I blanking on her name?
The girl from Predator.
Yeah, Naru.
Or Prey.
Naru.
Yeah, no.
It wouldn't make sense. It
Right.
wouldn't. But man, I just love me some strong women.
Yeah. But I think that's where this franchise, both these franchises have their greatest potential. Well, like for Alien, yes, like you could expand on Rain, but I think both of them could expand just by bringing in new characters and new settings all over the place.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I find really funny about this is that this movie was able to overcome the biggest issue that I have with Prey, which is that like they were able to exit the streaming death sentence essentially.
Yeah.
Like this movie was supposed to go straight to Hulu.
This was supposed to go straight
This
to Hulu?
was supposed to go straight to Hulu.
Why?
I don't know.
Did Prey go straight to Hulu because of COVID, or did
it went straight to Hulu because of COVID,
right?
But also because at that point the theaters were already essentially open.
Yeah, but it wasn't
It was during that time
zone,
where
right.
Bob Paycheck was like, everything goes to streaming. We can't put this in Disney Plus because that's a family thing, but now here it is.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It still breaks my heart.
We went on a Sunday. Our theater was
fucking packed.
Yeah.
The screening we went to on Thursday was sold out.
That's amazing.
We sat second row.
Wow.
Right in the middle. I was like this the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
I have not been to a movie that full in a hot minute. Especially like a horror movie.
America is back, baby.
We're back. Movies are back, baby.
Yeah.
This movie, dude, it's at $80 million budget. It already made $120 million.
Keep going.
It's only on the first weekend. It's getting like very positive reviews. I am really hopeful that if they do decide to continue with the Alien like franchise.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they have the TV show coming out. I'm kind of, I don't want to say concerned, but I'm confused because it's a prequel that takes place before Prometheus.
I think I don't need any more spin-off TV.
I don't disagree. Something about... Yeah... I don't know.
I think that itch has been scratched.
I think if you're gonna give me TV, just give me TV. But if something is already in the big screen, like I want to have that big screen feel.
Exactly.
I feel like it does lose something.
And it's not so much that it's too much to keep up with. It's more so that like I don't think the companies and filmmakers have gotten to the point where they can like execute both mediums competently.
Yeah, because like even though we've been kind of, I don't want to say we've been soft on the MCU, but like we're a lot more forgiving than others.
Yeah.
I do feel like I don't have that same like feeling of satisfaction watching like Loki on TV.
Correct.
Than I would like if it was like a concise 2.5 hour long movie about the character, right? Yeah. I don't know. I do think the streaming wars really did a number on this.
Yeah.
I think streaming, the problem with streaming is they're treating it as like this is the thing as opposed to like this is a supplemental thing to a company.
Yes.
Like I don't think I need something to be straight to streaming when I could have something be in theaters and then a little bit later.
But then even if it were a supplemental thing, I don't need a lot of this. Like, I don't need supplemental John Wick material.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the idea of streaming should be supplemental to the company, not to the franchises or to the content itself.
I see.
Like, Disney Plus should exist to house like your Disney TV shows that are, on Disney Channel.
Yeah.
They should be there to supplement the Disney movies that get released and then they go here.
Yes.
Right? They shouldn't be made for the streaming service.
I see.
Like Netflix, it's its own thing. So like I kind of get it.
Yeah.
But even then, like if something is like big on Netflix, like they will just release that shit in theaters, even if it's limited.
Even if it's for 5 days. Yeah.
Which is stupid,
right?
Because like Dan says, like that's money you're leaving on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Money and goodwill and subscriptions and the whole
I don't know. I think now that now that like Netflix has kind of just solidified itself as like the top dog in that field,
mm-hmm.
I'm kind of hoping other streaming services like just fucking calm the fuck down and just like stop.
Yeah.
Because this was supposed to go to streaming. Evil Dead was supposed to go to fucking streaming. Ugh. Like we recently talked about another movie that was supposed to also go to fucking streaming. That they were like, no, we're putting this in theaters because people just want this.
I'm not even a screen snob, but like, can you imagine only seeing this on the TV?
It would not.
Like, most likely for most people, a computer.
The First Omen was supposed to be straight to streaming.
Wow.
And I know you saw it in streaming.
Yeah.
But like watching that shit in a theater,
what a shame.
It's just like it just gives you a different feeling of like scare.
Yeah.
Because like especially with like a scary movie, and I fucking shat on Katie at this the other day, where you're watching a movie, you're like, that wasn't that scary. Well, no, you were on your fucking phone half the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what she said. She did say that the movie was like scary.
Right.
But like people who are complaining about like, oh, the movie doesn't hit as good. Well, no, you're not concentrated like you are in the theater.
Yeah, exactly. So
fuck these companies.
All right. fuck the company. The company.
And fuck Whalen Yutani. They are not doing what's best for humanity.
Nope.
All right. Thank you everybody for listening to us just get really angry at the end here, or mainly me get really angry.
Yeah.
I fucking love this movie. I'm really curious as to how my end of the year list is gonna look.
I can see it.
This might be the first year that I have. I don't know. I do have some non-horror movies in my top 10.
Oh.
But I was looking at my top 10 list so far, or my best of the year.
Yeah.
And like my top movies are definitely all horror. It's crazy. It's been a good year for the genre.
The scaries.
The scaries.
Yeah.
What's next, homie?
I actually do not know.
I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see,
everybody. We're getting into the swing of things.
So. Back into it.
Yeah.
Now that Thanos got married life.
Got married life done. I mean, not done, but
so soon, so fast.
But you know, routine has arrived.
Routine has arrived. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Share us with your friends. Until next time, he has been Thano.
He has been Javier.
And this has been the Cine-Scoots podcast.
Bye.